Good afternoon. My name is Barry Donegan, and I'm here to explain to you why it is that I've chosen to run for City Councilman at large in Nashville, Metro Davidson County. The reason why is I believe there's becoming an increasingly large problem in our government, federal, state, and local, with the size of the government becoming intrusive into your lives, both via your social life and your economic life. Our tax burden is reaching over 30% when you combine all of the different forms of government. And in good conscience, I found no one that I could vote for city council. And I thought that as a citizen I should run. Now, we are originally designed as a constitutional republic, and the purpose of that is to have citizen government. I'm running as a citizen, not as a member of a special interest group or a career politician expecting to get paid large sums of money. The purpose of me and doing this is to do my citizen's duty to reflect the opinions of the people around me and the way that our lives should be governed. I feel that a smaller government is important, that lower taxation is good for business, and that the focus of what we consider to be crime in this country should shift, specifically in Nashville, towards things like violent crime and theft. Not things like what decisions about what we put into our body or other victimless crimes like that. As a result, I think that I speak for a certain contingency of people who are in a movement right now in America for the original liberties that our founders intended. Not this big government sort of nanny state reality that we're slowly drifting into, if you will. I know that as a local councilman you can only do so much, but the point is that at every level of government, if this change in perception as to whether the government should be solving all the problems or letting the people solve the problems themselves, this is a complete attitudinal change in government from the ground up, and that electing local councilmen who believe in this system of government, as well as congressmen, state house representatives, and presidents, all of these things make a difference over time. We have, like I said, a massive tax burden. We're indebted to the rest of the world, and we're indebted to special interests and corporations in so many ways that no one could possibly understand from a regular person's perspective. The banking industries and special lobby industries have control over the votes in this country, and it is our job as citizens to vote for people who represent our interests, not theirs. And I am just a citizen, and I will not be bought. That is one campaign promise, if you will, that I'm willing to make no matter what is thrown in front of me. Now, some of the ways I think that liberty can be achieved on the local level is, first of all, zoning. If you watch a city councilman, rather not a city council man, but a city council meeting right now, which you can watch online or on TV, you'll notice that probably, this is not an accurate statistic, but it's a guesstimated statistic, 65% of the time is spent with people presenting zoning proposals to use pieces of property which they already own in a way that they want to use. Most of these motions are denied, and these are pieces of property that they own that they want to use for a certain purpose. City zoning costs money, results in lawsuits between private citizens and the city government, and has not proven itself to necessarily affect the design of the city in any sort of beneficial or positive way. In my opinion, it separates the community from a residential community from commercial areas in such a way that when we're at home at night, we don't intermingle with people in our own neighborhoods, and when we go out to do business, we do business elsewhere with people who are not in our neighborhood. It creates less of a local environment for community and creates more of a citywide environment. That's not good for prevention of crime. That's not good for having good relations with your neighborhood. And it just, overall, it doesn't support the idea of local community government. Now, there are major cities such as Houston, Texas, who do not have zoning at all. any kind of a zoning department whatsoever. And this is a very large city, a city much larger than our own, and it's doing great. So I mean, most people would believe that without zoning there would be total chaos, and then it would just be slums everywhere and things of that nature. But that's just not true. It's not a function of government that we need, and it's also unfair. When you consider the fact that some people can, by eminent domain, have their 5th and 14th Amendments of the Constitution violated and have their property taken from them. Maybe their grandfather built a piece of property for their family to live in for many years, and a special interest group comes in and lobbies to the city government in order to get it rezoned commercial, and now they have to be given a quote-unquote fair market value. And we know in legalese that fair market value sometimes just isn't really all that fair. So obviously these particular interests are not to the benefit of the people, they're to the benefit of the special interest. There's a possibility that it might benefit you at some point if you are a member of the special interest, but as far as citizen government goes, it is best left to the people and the property owners to decide what they're going to do with their own property. Now, we have in Tennessee a sales tax which is very high, one of the highest in the nation. We also have a property tax in Middle Tennessee, particularly Davidson County, which is higher than that of many of its neighbors. And overall, for us to have a high tax burden and restrictive codes on small businesses that are opening up, especially ones which grandfather clauses allow older businesses to not be compliant with these codes, particularly health, safety codes, is something that stops small businesses from being able to compete with bigger corporations that can lobby against certain rules. To build, of course, if you have a $100,000 fire code that you have to meet, de facto, based on the amount of things that you have to purchase in order to get your building up to codes, you're not going to be able to open up a business without that much money to begin with, even though you might have a building and you might have a client base. And that kind of thing is just is not good for commerce, because small business is sometimes has to begin small and grow to become big. And second of all, it's an insult to the client base who willingly decides where they will shop. And if they're willing to shop somewhere, even though it may not be up to a codes standard that is set by a committee of people who are not necessarily in that industry, it's not necessarily like we, as government, people in government know how to do certain things like fireproof a building or give you medical care. They don't know how to do those things. All they can do is build a commission or a department that oversees it and spends money and justifies extra jobs for them to attempt to solve these kind of problems. So therefore, I would say, in the end, you can reduce a lot of the purposes of, not reduce the purposes, but you can reduce a lot of the excessive committee usage, the excessive usage of taxation to solve problems that would just simply solve themselves if we let consumers and citizens take care of their own business the way that the founders intended to. Thank you very much. I'm running for city councilman. If you would like to donate to my campaign, it would be of great help, because I would like to get my name out there, to be able to, as a citizen, not indebted to special interests. I'm not going to be able to go to big companies to ask for their money, because they're not going to want a person like me in the council. So I need the help of people like you, citizens, to do this. Like I said, I'm a part of a peaceful citizen revolution to take back our Republican government, which I believe is drifting into something much different that we do not want. Thank you very much.